So you're thinking about taking a career break, a sabbatical, a pause, whatever it is that you want to call it, but you want to make sure that you are using that time wisely. Yes. What you don't want to do is get to the end of the year and not have had a plan, right? Instead, you've just spent the whole year looking at Reels or YouTube or TikTok, and you're wondering, where did my time go? So what I want to cover in this video is how to plan to ensure that you have a productive and happy year off. So the first thing that I would recommend, and I personally did this too, is to have some sense of a plan or an outline. It doesn't have to spell out how you intend to spend every single day. But what I found most helpful was really to think about how much time you're planning to spend. In my case, my current goal is 1 year. Maybe it'll be 2 years, but right now I focused on 1 year. And so what I did was really look at kind of monthly, but more so quarterly goals for how I envision spending my time, right? So the first bucket that I looked at was months 1 through 3. And for me, my primary focus was really just traveling, having fun, and really starting to rest and deprogram myself from corporate Natalie. I knew that right off the bat, as we were jumping into our career break, we were starting off in Germany, we were going to the Euros, we were going to be with friends and with fans, and so I didn't want to overplan or overcommit to anything. From there, we are going to the UK, where we are going to see, Jimmy's family, where he's from, see our friends there. So it's really important for me to just be intentional about giving myself the time and the permission to rest. And I did, and I'm so grateful for that. One of the things that we started to do was to play golf. I've wanted to learn how to golf for years, but I never felt like I had the time to learn or to practice. And maybe that was an excuse, but it was never a priority for me when I was a full-time employee. So that's one way that I rested. Also just going for walks, right? That's how I like to rest, to get out in nature and deprogram. So that might look different for anybody, but I wanted to really give myself the first 1 to 3 months to have that be my primary focus. From there, I looked at months 3 through month 6. And so now the next big thing that I really want to focus on is my health and wellness, right? That is something that I sacrifice really easily. Maybe you can relate. I'm not great about working out. I will find almost any excuse not to do it. I would even get in the habit of waking up at 5 a.m. while I was working so that I could work out, and it just wouldn't happen, right? And now I have no excuses. I have no excuses not to be the best version of myself health-wise, right? Because I'm not trading my time to an employer. So months 3 through 6, for me, the goal, the target is really to focus on physical health, focus on cooking good, nourishing, nutrient-dense meals. I 100% succumbed to just being really tired after the end of a work day, not feeling like I wanted to take the time to get creative with recipes. And so I definitely felt like over the last year that I was not eating healthy. I wasn't eating the way that I should. And so that is a big focus for me. And honestly, I'm in this time period right now as I'm making this video. And this is a good moment for me to remember that I don't need to go get a burger tonight in Zagreb. I can just walk down the street and go to the supermarket and I can make something healthy to eat. So that's what I'm going to do after this video. But the other part of being healthy and really focusing on my wellness is not just about, physically, but also mentally. So I really want to start practicing more mindfulness. I want to start more journaling because I love writing. It's definitely a way for me to get things out. So I definitely have goals around that. The next chunk of time that I was looking, months 6 through 9, for me, it's really important to continue learning. I'm a learner. I love it. I love school. I'm a weirdo. I was a kid that always get excited for the first day of school. And so I really want to spend that time to either learn a new skill or study something that is completely different from what I've done in the past. And I have this amazing gift of time to do that. So when I first started off the year, I had no idea what that was going to be. What's interesting is I'm starting to feel really excited and interested in things that were never on my radar before. So I 100% know that that's something I'm going to execute in the latter half. And it doesn't have to be in these time blocks, right? It's just giving myself an outline, a general framework to make sure that I'm spending my time that is most productive and helpful to me. The last goal for me for those last 3 months is really going to be figuring out what my next transition is going to be, right? Am I going to transition back into the workforce? Am I going to be able to start my own business? Hey, did we just figure this whole thing out and figured that we can keep traveling for another year? I don't know. I don't know what it's going to look like yet, but I do know that that is important for me to figure out during that time frame. So as you are planning your own break, definitely go through the exercise, spend the time to reflect on what it is you want to do, and then try to give yourself some kind of timeline or goals to reach so that you're not kind of endlessly wasting your days on things that aren't the most important thing to you. I never want to say waste your day, but it's all about prioritizing exactly what is the most important way to spend this time off, right? I do have my phone here, and that's because I wanted to reflect on some things that I also used in my planning. So I wasn't quite sure where to begin. So I use ChatGPT to help me with this, right? And I even used ChatGPT to help me create that loose plan that I just went over. I thought about what was important to me, and then it just kind of spit out an outline. And I took that, and then I really made it me. I made it mine. The next thing that I had captured and written down was that it's really important for me to focus on growth. And I think that should be a goal for anybody, right? If you're going to gift yourself this opportunity to be whoever it is that you want to be or do whatever it is that you want to do with that time off, rest is important. And I said that, right? Rest was my goal for the first couple of months, just learning to kind of come down from not being so tightly wound. That is important. But what's more important then, once I've given myself that time to rest, is to focus on the growth that I want, right? If you would just leave your job, resign tomorrow, and not know exactly where it is that you need to grow, where you want to focus your time, then it may feel like a wasted opportunity, right? So I kind of hit on it already. My big things that I want to focus and grow are in my own health and wellness, and making sure that I, for the first time, am prioritizing myself. If I take this time now, then it's going to just make me that much better in the many, many years to come. It's also important for me to learn a new skill. And I have something in mind, but you know what? Maybe it's not that. Maybe that doesn't work out. It doesn't matter what it is. What matters is that I have new interests and I have new sparks, and I'm using this time to pursue it, right? That is growth. That's getting outside of your comfort zone and being really intentional with how you're spending your time. That is a story that you can then tell to a prospective client, to a prospective employer as you re-enter the workforce, right? So that's the last thing that I would say. Just keep in mind as you are planning this time off, this time for you, think about the story you want to tell, right? Write it down, record it. Actually, I haven't done this, but I'm going to do this now. Now that I said it out loud, I think it would be so cool to just make a recording to yourself, to your future self in a year from now. And what is it that you're doing? Where do you see yourself? What do you see yourself doing? Maybe you don't even know where you'll be, but what is it that you're feeling? What is it that you're doing? And make that recording and listen to it throughout that time off. And listen to it when you get to the end of your time. I think it would be really amazing to see what kind of growth you were able to achieve just by planting that seed during the planning period. So that's it. My only words of caution are don't just jump in 2 feet without having a real plan, without giving yourself that time to reflect and be really intentional about how you plan to grow this year. And let me know, what have you done that works really well? Even if you haven't taken a career break, how do you get yourself to that growth, to that next level? What tools or tips do you have? Or what questions do you have? Until then.